Good evening, everyone. My name is James Donoghue. I'll be hosting this evening. Before I introduce the people involved, what I just want to do is remind everyone that if you can you turn off your microphone and your video just so we can hear those involved in the conversation nice and clearly. The other thing to remind everyone is that this will be recorded, but it won't impact anyone just in watching the conversation. So just your last chance now, I suppose, to turn off your microphone and then I'll introduce the people involved. So look, involved with me here tonight and kind of a nice conversation to have. First of all, we have Kate Kelly. Are you there, Kate?
I'm here, James, yeah.
Good stuff. And we've Mags Darcy.
Yeah, here, James.
And JJ Doyle.
Yeah, evening James, evening everyone.
Yeah, that's perfect. So we kick straight into it. Look, what we're reviewing or looking back on is an incredible time in Wexford Camogie. It was the first ever 3 in a row in Camogie for Wexford, something that had been attempted before in 1970. Wexford won a Camogie All-Ireland in 68 and 69, but didn't complete the 3 in a row. But they did complete in 2012 and won an intermediate All-Ireland in 2011 to go with it as well. So an incredible time in Wexford Camogie. Kate, can you sum up the feeling for me in Crow Park in September 2012?
I suppose to sum it up, it's hard to put it all in one word, I suppose, but like really when I think about this and I've talked about it a lot over this kind of period of COVID-19, it really, your dreams, it was like all our dreams came true because it was something we dreamt about doing for years and years and years. And Wexford Camogie went through a lot of lows before that. And, you know, after the 90s team being so strong, Wexford Camogie was kind of at a low end of the 90s, beginning of 2000. And just to achieve that, like after, like when we won in 2007, we were on such a high, like maybe we thought maybe it passed us to win more, but in 2012 I thought we'd just go on winning forever, to be honest. It was just massive, like nothing phased us, and just the feeling when that final whistle goes, it's just amazing. It's hard to just describe it. It just is one amazing feeling, and to be out there with all your friends and you build such a bond with that group of players. And I just always think, even when I meet those people now, it just brings a smile to your face anytime you talk about those years and the years of winning. Like, it's just such great memories and just happy times, really.
Yeah, and Mags, I suppose to follow up on that, like Kate said, in the 90s, Wexford, they didn't win one, but they played 3 All-Ireland Camogie finals. And then there was that team of the 60s. Was 2012 justification as the greatest Camogie team in Wexford of all time? Did that ever come into the thought process?
No, never, James. And I don't think you can pit one great team against another or squad against another. It was just a different time in Camogie, but like as Kate said, it was massive to win with a group of players with the same ambition, which you would have had. But for me, it was looking up at the likes of Kate and, you know, Anya Codd, Michelle Ahern, you know, greats of the game, Rosemary Green, and just wanting to be able to play with them, never mind go on. And yes, ultimately the dream would be to win something with them, but to play with them for me was just massive. Like the next stepping stone then was just to get someone to be able to facilitate the talent and the ability that was there to be able to give us a platform to push on and achieve. And I think that might open up JJ's segment there nicely.
Yeah, so look, what we're going to do is we're going to go right back to, I suppose, 2010, before winning the 3 in a row. And we're going to start with yourself, JJ. You know, it's been an incredible 10 years for yourself. It's been non-stop winning. I think Liam Griffin described you one time as the greatest manager Wexford have ever had in the Christy O'Connor interview, but it didn't all start that way. It was kind of an unusual way to start, was it?
Yeah, James, it was a bit all right. I was just listening to Jason Ryan the other night and talking about 2008, and when you asked him about how did he get the job, he said it was a bit unusual, and it was a bit unusual myself as well. I remember in 2009, Stella had stepped aside, and a committee was formed to pick a new management. and I was actually asked to go on the committee. And I suppose we talked to a few people to see were they interested, and a few people were a little bit more interested or whatever, but the jigs and the reels anyway, none of them wanted the job. And then one of the committee, Jacinta Roach, who was actually the chairperson of the Camogie now in Wexford, she approached me on behalf of the committee and said, listen, would you be interested in taking the girls over? I had very little experience. I'd been involved for 6 or 7 years in Camogie and Gorey, had I suppose re-established the club up there with a couple of other people. And listen, when I was given the opportunity, I kind of firmly believed that, you know, things like this don't come around too often. So I think that, you know, the Camogie board kind of took a punt on me, something maybe that wouldn't happen nowadays, but I'm very thankful to the fact that they did. And, you know, we kind of went from there, put backroom team together. I mean, the people I had with me, you know, I had 3 selectors in Geraldine Murphy and Joe Brennan and Tommy Roach, and, you know, just unbelievable people. And, you know, you kind of talk about management and that, but it's never just the managers, the people you have behind you. Those 3 people I would have trusted with my life, and I still do, and we get on very well to this point in time. And we put Jerry McQuaid went in as trainer, and that was basically it. Then we had, you know, the county board were behind us, and some very, very good people in the county board, the likes of Rose Breen and Mary O'Reilly and Barbara Ryan, you know, people who just worked like Trojans in the background. But it was a small core of people. And you know, Eilish Kavanagh, the first year I was there, was the county chairperson, and she kind of let us do what she helped everything she could, but let us do what we wanted to do, basically. And I suppose we kind of went from there.
And did you? I suppose, as you said, the county board took a punt on you. But when you take a job like that, and they've won the All Ireland, as I said, in 2007, and I think have lost 2 All Ireland semi-finals since, do you ever feel that when you take a job like that, I have to win an All Ireland here? Was that in the back of your head when you took the job?
Yeah, like I felt the responsibility. I mean, these were some of the greatest players, and as it turned out over the course of the following 3 years, they proved they were some of the greatest players, not just alone to play for Wexford, but, you know, ever to play the game. 2 of them on the call here tonight, in Kate and Mags, you know, generational players. And, you know, when you have that kind of talent, you know, you have a responsibility to put things in place and to, I suppose, facilitate them to bring the best out of themselves. I mean, you mentioned yourself there, they lost the 2 semi-finals. I think we're absolutely robbed by Galway, and I think it was 2008. But they won the National League in 2009, so they hadn't gone away, you know. And there was a lot of players there, and they were probably coming to their prime, to be honest with you. And if maybe it hadn't worked out in 2010, 2011, those girls may not have gotten the rewards for the talent that they had.
I suppose, girls, I have to ask you, did either of you know who JJ was when he got the job, or did you know about him, or what did you think?
James, I didn't know much about anything, to be honest.
I can't say I knew either, James, but he made a great first impression, because when he came in and met us the first night, he made no bones about it that the All Ireland was the #1 target, and I suppose we got off on the right foot there. We were all on the same page.
And I suppose, like any new manager, at what point, and JG, you could answer this as well, maybe, was it the first National League, or what point do you start to feel that this facilitation, I suppose, is a brilliant word, that this is working out and this is going places? Did you ever get that in the first few months, or was it a case of this was coming?
Yeah, I'd say, for me anyway, probably the most important victory of the 3 years was the National League, the first National League, where we went up to Tullamore and beat Cork in the semi-final, and then we went to Semple Stadium and we were a point down in injury time, and Una got a point, and then Ursta got the winner 8 minutes into injury time, you know. And it kind of, I suppose, as the girls say, they didn't really know us. And, you know, there's always, I suppose, among players a little bit of awareness, like who are these guys, you know, is what they're doing going to work for us, and that kind of thing. And it probably vindicated ourselves that, you know, we were on the right path anyway. It didn't mean that we had it all sussed or anything like that, but we were certainly on the right path. We had won, you know, a trophy, and maybe the girls maybe even bought in more into what we were doing, and it's, you know, it kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, and would you agree with that, girls, or was it the training sessions themselves, or what? Do you get that feeling when you're involved in a setup like that?
I think, sorry, I come in there. I think when you're involved with a team, you know it's going places. You know that the work comes before the hurling, and that was very much the case with those 3 years. Like, we trained like dogs. We opened up ourselves no end when it came to, you know, trying to get the best out of ourselves in a conditioning and fitness manner. And for us, the hurling was always going to come, but to know that there was an honest approach from everyone to put in hard work and no one was cutting corners, I think that's when we formed an honest bunch of people that were all driven in the same manner. And like, the bluffers were kind of found out fairly quickly, you know. So I think knowing that we had an honest dressing room was huge for me anyway.
And I kind of agree that when JJ came in, it's like any new manager, everyone is on the same footing and everyone is trying to prove themselves. And I think what JJ and his team did, they very much did that in the first few years. The ones that were in the training, the ones who were putting in the work, not through anyone's fault. Like, Ashburn was on, and it always cuts into the league. And I suppose, not that it was, you know, they made hard calls in that first year, and it very much kept the players on their toes, that there was nothing guaranteed and it didn't matter who you are, you had to work for your place. And I think that was true to form the whole way through with JJ and them. They were very clear of what you were or weren't on, or and so on and so forth. And like, I suppose that really showed through in that first league title, and that was followed through the whole way right to 2012. And maybe that was a big part of our success as well.
Yeah, I suppose moving on then, looking at it, and you've already mentioned it, Kate, is that team from the 90s. Fantastic team, terribly unlucky. It was 3 All-Irelands they lost, was it? After 2007, and you lose the 2 semi-finals after that, do you start to lose belief a little bit, or do you just try and work harder?
Yeah, like, I don't know. I suppose as a group of players, a lot of us came through together. The girls won in Collage to Breed. We won a minor All-Ireland in the 90s. That belief was in the team, and like, we were all kind of the same, high achievers, very competitive, and that showed very much so when players went back to play with the club. While we were best friends playing county, when we went to club, we were still highly competitive, high achievers. So I think we never lost the faith that there was more in us. And I think 2008, we were pipped at the post. Like, if you remember 2008, like, and Mags would say it, like, they got a lucky goal right at the end to win by 1 point. Like, we would have been in another All-Ireland after the 2007 one. The 2009 one, maybe not so much, but we knew it was in us because we won the league final that year very comprehensively. So we hadn't gone anywhere, and we knew we were up there with the best. So it was just, I really think, you know, a new voice, new approach. Everyone bought into the new gig in 2010, and we pushed on. But yeah, I don't think we went away in terms of not believing. We really believed there was more in us.
And I suppose, Mags, it's very, in Camogie, everyone plays everyone an awful lot, kind of similar to the way things are gone in the hurling now. How well do you know the teams you're playing against, and how does that impact on the actual games themselves?
Sure. Yeah, you're bang on, James. Like, you'd know the matchups even before. Again, I suppose everyone had their own role. Me as a goalkeeper, I'd have to know the inside 6 forwards and what kind of threats they possessed, who was the running, who dragged the player in, what side do they hit off. You know, you'd visualize this before the game 10 times over, and you get to trial run that in the championship, so to speak, before you hope them in the latter stages, the quarters or the semi. We played, Kate and JJ would say, is that there was some awesome Camogie players like throughout the stages that we played giants of the game. Remember, my first game was in 14 or 15 in Wexford Park, and like, the giant Sharon Glynn was full forward coming down on top of me, and I mean, I wasn't even out in nappies, and I felt like I should have been wearing one at the time, because, like, to me, she was just a legend barreling down on top of me. And then you got to play against the likes of Therese Manton, or Therese Marr and Manton too, and you know, there's just so many. You don't want to actually individually name players, but like it was phenomenal to take to the field at these. I suppose when I broke through, I was looking at Tipperary winning All Ireland's year after year, and like Joe Beasley Delaney down in the goal the other end, and she was a huge hero of mine, and to be able to take the field against her was massive. But going back to your question on like the players, would you know? Yeah, you would, hands down know, and JJ would know as well who to maybe match up, and Kate would know which player to take for a run at certain times of the game. And you just had to do your homework, and in fairness, we did it pretty all right.
In terms of yourself, then I suppose Aoife Murray and Susan Erner at the time were doing very well, and it was a great time for goalkeepers, I suppose, in Camogie. Did you ever feel that you had to get better than them, or was there a healthy rivalry there between the three, I suppose, or?
There would have been, yeah. We wouldn't have, I suppose, been shy about it either. Like, you know, if we were walking past each other, you just give a nod, but there'd be no shaking hands. Like, we're very much, we win our own position. Would I want to be better than them? No. Do I want to be the best goalkeeper for our team? Yes. My objective every day was to keep the ball out of the net and try do the things on top of those then, but I'd never pit myself against anyone else. Absolutely not.
Oh, okay, excellent stuff. I suppose getting back to that All Ireland in 2010, then JJ, did you get a sense of how much it might have meant to the girls after losing those two semi-finals?
Yeah, I suppose we played Kilkenny in the semi-final, and I think we won by 7 points. I think it was 3-12 to 1-11, something like that, and we really played well that day. You know, we kind of stuck to the game plan. We were definitely, I can still recall, we were getting dogs abuse from the people in the stand behind us because we were through our half forward line out the field to kind of create space for our inside forwards, and their half back line kind of sat deep, and they got a couple of balls, but eventually they had to come out and mark the likes of Kate, and it just created space inside. And I think just getting over that psychological barrier, having been beaten in the previous two, getting over the psychological barrier of winning the semi-final was absolutely huge in 2010. And you know, then obviously Galway in the All Ireland final, and the first half of that game we should have won the game. The game should have been over by half time that day. I mean, we were 7 points up at half time. We should have been 14, 15 points up. You know, we missed goal chances, we missed point chances, and then I don't know what happened the second half. We kind of started getting a little bit nervy, and they came back at us. And you know, you talk about discipline in the game, and we gave away a free about just outside the 45, the end of the last minute of the game, and I don't know who it was, and I'm certainly not going to name who it was that mounted at the referee, and he moved the ball forward about 15-20 yards, and Aisling Connolly took a free and put it into the top corner of the net, and we were down to 2 point lead then, and it was just hang on for dear life, and we kind of fell over the line, but just a sheer relief after that. But you know, we definitely should have won it by more, but we'd have taken a point victory, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's what's it like, I suppose, to sum up, you played in a few All Ireland finals, but what's the build up like in those first two compared to the last two? You know, what was how does it differ? Do you get more relaxed as it go along?
Well, the first one, we didn't know what was ahead of us, and I personally, I kind of nearly loved the build-up. I loved the excitement around it, and like the phrase that we were always said, you're either an energy giver or an energy sapper. So one thing I definitely didn't let it do was take away my energy, and I just really enjoyed the build-up. It was, as I said at the start, it was something we dreamed of getting to, and the one thing you learn through playing Camogie, and when you were at that age, the experiences, to keep, like, not to let the nerves get the better of you. And I think 99% of our team did that. Like, they were all most of the girls on the field were big day performers, and that's why I think any All Ireland we got to in Croke Park, we actually did the job, which is unique in its own right. It was just about getting there, and the build up was amazing. Like, from the time the semi final, the whistle went, to after that, and the press night in Wexford Park to meeting with the girls and arranging the weekend and laying it out. Like it was just, you were just so looking forward to the All Ireland final day, and then even the build up going up on the bus, leaving Wexford, leaving Gorey, heading into Stillorgan and loads of Wexford people there and only mad to talk to you, and JJ trying to keep a separate room, and sure we were only dying to get out to talk to everyone just to relax. But look at that, they're the memories that we have, like, and even, you know, we had mass in Stillorgan before the matches and in for dinner, and funny enough, like, you know, nerves wasn't a big thing, and people worry about that, you know, choke or croaker, but it really wasn't for our team. Like, we were in Croke Park for most of those matches 2 hours beforehand, like, and we went in and enjoyed the match before, relaxed in our space, and just took it all in. But from the first one, I suppose you didn't take in as much because it was all new to you. But Stella, in fairness to her, she had been there before, so I always remember she brought us around Wexford Park and she paraded us around Wexford Park about 3 or 4 times, so we knew exactly what to do the first year. While we mightn't have taken it all in, we did know what to do. But by the last one, yeah, you were really taking it in. You were really enjoying, like, the national anthem and stuff.
The phrase energy giver, energy sapper, that's a great phrase. Where does that come from? It's a great phrase.
Yeah, the person that stuck out the most for me with that one was JJ and the lads used to get someone in to give us a talk, and Mickey Hart came down and he always had about 6 or 7 different things, and that was one of the big ones. Are you going to be part of the team as an energy sapper, an energy giver? And it just kind of always stuck that you needed to be one of those energy givers and not to let the occasion sap your energy. So he kind of came down a few years, a week or so before the All Irelands. Am I right in saying that, lads? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And did you, during that time, JJ, did you have other people coming down to work on psychological stuff, or?
Listen, any lad I could get, and Tommy Roach was absolutely brilliant at organising guys to come, and like as Kate says, Mickey Hart came down to 3 years the week before the All Ireland to have a chat, and the reason being he's just so calm. You know, you wouldn't be going out of the room after listening to him ready to play, you know, pumped up, but he had that calm and influence, and you know, he just talked for half an hour and you could hear a pin drop. We had Davey came down one year and did a session with us below on St. Martin's. Brian Crowdy was in, Liam Griffin was in. What we used to do every year, the week before the All Ireland, we always went up to Croke Park, went in, had a look around, refamiliarised ourselves with the whole surroundings. Even though we were kind of, by the third year, we were fairly used to, we just had a routine of doing it. And one year Liam Sheedy came up and did a session with us out in Clonagale, and like guys here in the county were brilliant to us, the likes of Tom Dempsey, Damien Fitz, Liam Dunn, Adrian Fenlon, Jared Cush. They all came in and regularly did sessions either with the goalkeepers, backs, forwards, and I was just very much along the lines, if someone can come in and give something else, absolutely brilliant, you know, and even a different voice saying the same thing can have a massive impact on players. And you know, when you're with team all the time, all year long, things can get a little bit stale. So you guys coming in and you know, giving their fresh outlook on things, and the way I always looked on it, if they can help and they're willing to come, I'm more than willing to have them, and that's the way I was.
And just on that, James, one of the JJ's own psychological thing he did one year was nearly one of the best ones. One year, I don't know what year it was, JJ or Mags, you might remember, but we always did a fitness test and speed test and whatever, but I think it was a week before one of the All Ireland semi-finals up in Rathnure. They decided to do the speed test and the fitness test again, and I remember going to it going, oh, this is really going to shatter my confidence, because I'd been injured. I'd done hurted my shoulder, so I hadn't been doing massive amount, and I was actually nearly cursing it going into the speed test, going, this won't do nothing for my. And then so we did the speed test anyway, we got the results back, and mine were up, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I lost none of my fitness. Sure, Jerry told me afterwards that they moved the speed barriers in, so everyone was faster. So psychologically, that was one of the best things that JJ and them did.
That's brilliant. That's really good. What about yourself then, Mags? Had you kind of a routine for the big matches, or had you a way of building up your own confidence?
JJ mentioned there the likes of, we had coaches in every now and again, but probably the best coach is the person trying to get you out of the goal. And for me, like, Alina Jacob was massive for me, and she probably doesn't know it to this day, but like, that woman pushed me, or tried to, push me the whole way through those 3 years and beyond. And like, she's a lot to answer for now in terms of me getting up for games, if I'm being truly honest with you. I remember there was a semi-final in Nolan Park, and it must have been 2010, because I wasn't wearing a helmet. And I swear she knew I wasn't looking, and a ball hit me in the side of the temple with about 3 minutes to throw it. And I turned around and I said, well, is this one looking to get a game or what? I don't know. But she certainly got me glued in anyway for the game. But Helena for me was massive, and she was very precise and diligent in covering all the aspects of what it is to be a goalkeeper during training sessions when we were afforded the time. Then you had the likes of Damien coming in, and like, the people of Wexford were great. The past players of Wexford were great. They were coming in, getting involved. And for me then, like, it is between the years when you're a goalkeeper. Like, you just have to be 100% confident on the day, even though you might be shitting bricks underneath it all. You have to put the shoulders back, and because you're the one that people look behind to see that if you're not on your game, or if you don't have the confidence, or if you aren't talking. And I say about talking, probably the biggest compliment I ever got was in a training session when Michelle Ahern was full forward. She turned around and she said, "That one never shuts up." And that coming from Michelle Ahern, I just thought, well, that's brilliant. That's the biggest compliment I'll ever get. But it's knowing that you have a presence on the day, and installing the confidence in the back six in front of you, and doing a bit of visualization to know that if Kate Kelly's coming through on me in a county semi-final, I know exactly what side she's going to hit off, or she might think this way or that way, and practicing your high balls, just getting the basics right, really, James. That's what it is for me.
Does it ever become hard, a goalkeeper operating at that level with, say, Helena there, and you rely on her so much in training to drive you on? Does it ever become hard being the number one when she's the number two? Like, how, when you've probably a good friendship with it as well, how do you deal with that coming into the big days and stuff?
I know, like I was half messing in terms of she'd be trying to knock me out, but we'd have great respect for each other, and she'd be giving you good, solid words of advice. And like, if you're in the right environment, then it's a partnership, and sometimes that's what it has to be at the end of the day. And if I rolled an ankle or did something, I know Helena Jacob could have come in and absolutely scored any game for Wexford Camogie, and that's what it was at the end of the day. For me, it didn't really matter who was between the posts. It was just great to have someone there who did have your back at the end of the day. As much as she tried to push you out of the goal, she was there, and it was ultimate respect between the two of us.
Excellent. So you win again in 2010, getting your second title, and then 2011 you play Galway again. Do you talk about they might be looking for revenge, or? Apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're there now, James.
Perfect. Apologies. I whatever happened. But just coming back to that question, JJ, you have to go play Galway again in the final. Does it come into your thought process that, we have to go beat these again, or do you just do the same as normal?
Well, I suppose 2011 was different, James, in the fact that the intermediates and we were over both teams, so 2011 kind of took on a life of its own. But I suppose specifically looking at the Galway team, obviously, we'd beaten them by 2 points, as I said, in 2010, and then actually in the round robin phase of 2011, they came down to Belfield and they beat us by 11 points in Belfield, and we were shocking, to be honest with you, that day, and just never really got out of second gear at all. And then we went to the Crow Park, and we knew that they were going to go that bit more defensively. We kind of opened them up our half forward line in 2010 of Kate, Michelle O'Leary and Una absolutely destroyed them. So they put Trey's Mar back centre back that year, and withdrew their midfielders and went really defensively to stop us getting the ball to our full forward line. And we kind of had an idea it was going to happen, and they threw absolutely everything at us. And listen, if I was to be 100% honest, we hurled for probably 7-8 minutes in that second half and won the game. And it was just the sheer talent, the sheer, I suppose, belief in each other that got the girls over the line in that game, because we just didn't hurl nearly as well in 2011 as we did in 10 or 12. And whether that was because of the intermediate or what it was, I'm not 100% sure. But we knew, obviously, they had lost, I don't know how many All-Irelands they had lost. I mean, was it 8-9 finals they had lost in a row at that stage? And just the psychological impact it obviously had on them. But I suppose that didn't really worry us too much. It was about, on the day, there's no real sentiment in sport. You feel for them maybe afterwards, but you're not going to give them a title just so that they feel better. So we went out, we obviously knew them very well. We probably had a little bit of a chip on our shoulder over the beating they'd given us on our home patch in Belfield, and we went out and thoroughly believed we could win the game. And I suppose in the end of the day, it was that performance and that will to win and that belief and just sheer talent that got us over the line in that game.
Yeah, we'll come back to the intermediates in a second, because that's an incredible story as well. But just firstly, that winter when you come back, or I suppose January when you come back training, Kate, do you do something differently in 2011 that you mightn't have done in 2008, or do you approach things the same?
No, well, I suppose for me, I was that bit older, so I was really starting to understand overtraining, and for, I suppose, being that bit older, but not really. I think a lot of it is buying into the team, getting in with the likes of JJ. He had Jerry there. They had their plans of what they wanted to do. And I think when you're part of a team sport, you have to buy in as part of a team. It's not like the team falls apart. So for us, it was getting everyone back together, anyone that wasn't playing Ashburn or in college or whatever, and starting to get your heads down, starting to concentrate. It was a new year. 2010 was gone. So very much every year, I think JJ and the lads, they were brilliant at doing that you can't win 2 All-Irelands in 1 year. Forget about 2010, that was gone. And I think as a team, well, I personally did anyway, but after the 2007, I suppose we'd won that one, and that after that one, maybe the team holiday was that bit later, so we didn't get back into it as focused after it. But in 2011, we didn't make any mistakes that way. Everyone was tuned in. They'd done the 2017. They knew what happened in 2008 and 9, and I think as a team, we were happy to take the lead from the management and get back working together and getting ourselves fit, and as a unit moving forward to win another All-Ireland. I don't specifically remember doing anything any different than what I was kind of told to do.
I think also we probably enjoyed our own company a lot when we won in 2010, and it was a bit strange had we taken too much time off, because we're enjoying each other's success, I suppose, as a team together. So we were chomping at the bit to get back, and Kate alluded to it there, you wanted to not do what you did in 2007 and just get back into it. And I think Oulart were doing really well at the time, and there was girls on that panel that had a point to prove and wanted to get in and get a good league underneath them to say, I want to be part of the double, or I want to be part of winning a medal with Wexford too. And I think that had a little bit to play with it as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And JJ was actually talking about something like that yesterday. That it was very raw at times, in that it was all about winning and training and working hard, and the celebrations and stuff, while they were nice, weren't fully what the team was about. It was more about what you could do on the pitch. That's something that's very hard to describe. Did you get that sense of the way things were, Mags?
That we were more about success on the field.
Yeah, I suppose maybe I'm not describing it right, but it was all about getting back and winning on the pitch, and that's what made you so successful. That you never really got caught in the trap of over celebrating.
No, because I think a lot of us felt nearly embarrassed that we didn't go on, and like, 2008, a lot of women who would have won All Ireland in 2007, and I mentioned them earlier, like you'd like the likes of, Orla Hearn, Avis Nolan, for instance, and, you didn't want to let the people that were around you down. That's what it always felt like for me, that you always wanted to do your best for the girls that were around you, because what we had was very special. But we also knew that when we go to the dressing room, I hope those kids are on here, but we take no shit from each other as well on the field, and we all have to rise to a certain standard when we go out to play with Wexford. And like Kate would tell you, and so would JJ, like JJ wouldn't have to call many of us out at times because we'd be calling each other out on the field, so like when we went to work, and the same within training, but we did enjoy each other's company, and we still do when we meet up with each other outside of the training environment.
Yeah,
James, just on that enjoyment thing, don't be under any illusions. They could enjoy themselves big time, but they knew when to stop. And I think, like, if you were trying to talk in there about what was different in 2011, I personally, I suppose, learned from talking to the girls and talking to those that were involved in 28 that I had a big thing that the holiday, if we were going on a team holiday, it had to happen between Christmas and New Year, in around there. It wasn't going on any later. It wasn't dragging into February, March, April, because it would have just impacted too much on the year. So, the holiday ended that year, and then we started afresh. And it's like Kate, you don't win, you win one, you reflect back like we are now 10 years later. You don't spend your time the following year reflecting on your success the previous year, because you just won't be successful again. You need to park it. And you need to, if you stand still, you'll go backwards, because as you mentioned, Galway's, Cork's, Kilkenny's, they were all improving, and they wanted to knock us off our perch. And we knew that if we stood still, we weren't going anywhere. And as Mags and them said, like, they knew, we knew the talent that was there. And one All-Ireland certainly didn't reflect that talent. Two didn't. 3, 4 possibly, and probably could have won more.
Where does the intermediate title comes in then in 2011 as well? How hard was that to manage at the time, or did it just show how much talent was available?
Oh, listen, I mean, I'll never forget 2010 was probably, I got so much respect for every girl that was on the intermediate panel in 2010, especially those that were also on the senior panel. Like, we might have had 10 or 12 who were playing intermediate, were also part of the panel for the senior. And I'll never forget, they were 12 points down in All-Ireland final in 2010 and came back to level it and ended up getting beaten by 2 points. And those girls had to walk off the field, go into their own dressing room, pick up their gear, and come into the senior dressing room straight after. And not one of them let that affect them or affect the senior players. And there were sisters there like Colleen Atkinson, Cairns, you had the O'Connors, you had multiple players who had either sisters or relations in it, and there was best friends in it. And to see the pain that they went through, but they never let it affect anybody else. So then Karen stood down, work commitments, and she wasn't able to continue in 2011. And we just decided that, listen, we had all trained together in 2010. We had 48 players training together in 2011 for the two panels, and Gerard Riley came on board with us. He had been with the intermediates the previous year, and that was the only extra person we brought. And listen, it took an awful lot of logistical work to get things to work out. We were lucky enough during the course of the year that there was only one day that we had to play. I think the seniors, we were in Offaly, and the intermediates had to go and play Antrim up in Meath. And that was the only day we played that we had to split the management. But, we tried as best we could not to let it impact the intermediates, and more importantly, I suppose, not to impact the seniors. And one drove the other on, and just even the fact that they won the intermediate prior to us winning the senior as well. I mean, like, I didn't get to celebrate the intermediate with them, because the minute the final whistle went, we just had to go into the dressing room, and kind of switch to senior mode, and like it was just the homecoming and everything to do with that, with 48 All-Ireland winners on the one bus coming home, was just, it'll probably never be achieved again.
What was that bus like on the way home then? I'd say it's something that it will live long in the memory. The bus on the way home with 40. Well, how many was it? 48 All-Ireland medal winners.
Yeah, with 48 between the two panels, and yeah, like again, Father Owen Furlong was absolutely brilliant with us over the course of the 3 years. He did a lot of the psychological work, and he, remember the first year, 2010, we pulled into the what's the name of the place up in Wicklow there? Jack White's, and next thing a double-decker open top bus arrived in to bring us home, and coming into Gorey and that, and the story actually on the bus coming into Gorey where the girls were standing up in the back seat, and Mary Lacey was standing up. She was obviously the tallest on the team, and coming under the bridge on the Arkle Road in Gorey, and next thing the bus was almost hitting the bridge, and I'd say we looked around and it missed her head by about 3 or 4 inches. And I've never seen a bus go from absolute mayhem to just dead silence for a few seconds. I mean, it was so close, but then the whole way down to Wexford was just, like, it's hard to explain it and it's hard to describe it, but it's a feeling more than something you can express, but it's something I'll never forget. I can guarantee you that much.
Me either.
One thing I've wondered is, what does it feel like bringing an All-Ireland Cup back into your local school? Is that one of the greatest feelings of satisfaction ever?
Yeah, I think so. You're so proud, and you're just delighted to bring it back into the youngsters, and they're looking up at you in your own little school. Like I came from, when we were in primary school, there was only 60 pupils. Now it's a bigger school now, but even just the kids, and they're looking up at you in awe, like, and they think you're some superstar, and you're there with the cup. It's very close to the heart, like it's close to home, and it is what it's all about, really. Like that, the day after the All-Ireland, the homecoming, the first year we didn't know what to expect, but to be able to experience that 10, 11, 12, and what, like I read Tom Dempsey's article in the paper during the week, like what other county would you want to be from? Like the purple and gold, the supporters are so passionate, and I always look back on that era and say, well, they didn't let the ladies down anyway. Everyone came out in their numbers, and we had an amazing time. And I tell you, just it epitomized, the Wexford County and their passion for the game. And sure, everyone saw the crowds and the people, and that bus coming home was just brilliant. You were shattered at the end of it. It wasn't about going to a pub or whatever. It was just about enjoying that experience all the way from the minute we hit the border all the way back to that night at 12 o'clock when we got off the bus, or whatever time it was.
Yeah, I was looking at pictures there, putting together this presentation, and I think Wexford Key in 2007 as well. There was a picture on the front of a calendar. There was incredible scenes in terms of the Camogie back then. Do you think did she inspire a generation of new Camogie players maybe as well, Mags?
When Kate was talking about the primary schools there, I get an awful slagging still in the club over the last whatever. There's pictures of me and the actual girls I play with now. There's one of me and Chloe Fox going around, and I look a bit tired now. It's the day after going into the school, and she's absolutely beaming to be standing beside me, and it's quite the opposite now these days. But just to reflect, like we've all had a bit of time now over the last 10 weeks to reflect on what's gone and what we can look forward to in life, and like to know that the girls I'm playing with at the club at the moment, to know that you've had some little impact on them trying to go out and be the best that they can be every day in the club in the county jersey, like that's just massive for me, to know that you've kind of had some impact anyway, even though they wouldn't like to tell you that to your face. But the years that we've had, the people, when 2007 was special, but like we thought in 2011 coming home, I sure look they've had a good time celebrating us. Why would they come out again? And every year it just ramped up, and there is no gender in Wexford in my eyes anyway when it comes to playing hurling or camogie. Like, the people of Wexford just want to get behind the jersey, and you know, if we're playing tiddlywinks, they'd come out and bring 70,000 to Croke Park. I think it's just that appetite for sport, and there's a tradition in Wexford for hurling, and especially, and we couldn't ask to be part of a better county when it came to the sport we had.
And would you be able to, would you have a favourite memory, I suppose, after coming back to Wexford after winning the All-Ireland?
James, there's one. Sorry, there's one that I have, and it's like the girls have talked about, I suppose, inspiring young kids and that kind of thing. But there's a picture up there of Gory on the screen at the minute, and I'll never forget in 20. I think it was 20. I'm not exactly sure which year it was, but all I remember is we were driving up the main street, and like there was crowds. The Gory Pipe band were in front of us and that, but there was a man standing, and it's amazing. It reminded me this afternoon. I was watching the 1968 All-Ireland was on the television, and the old Wexford jersey, and there was a man standing on the corner, and anyone that knows Gory was right outside the Loch Ormond Arms Hotel, and I'd say he was at least in his late 70s, and he was standing there and he was waving, and there was tears rolling down his eyes. And it's just things like that you know, sport, and that these girls could have that kind of an impact on someone who had seen the lads winning probably multiple All-Irelands. I mean, he would have been around when Wexford were winning All-Irelands back in the day, and just to see someone being that affected by what they had achieved, that's you know, there's multiple memories, but if there's one that sticks blatantly out in my mind, it's definitely that one.
And what about yourself, Mags?
Yeah, there would be certain personal circumstances when you meet your family and your loved ones and your friends for the first time, really, and leaving the bus with the girls. But they'd be personal to you as well. I think going to the schools, and now 10 years later, seeing the impact that what the victories back then have had on the county and the current camogie team in Wexford, to see those girls would have been inspiring to do what we did back then, that gives me the most pleasure right now at the moment anyway. And Kate will have different memories to reflect on too, I'm sure.
To be honest, James, there's just so many, but like JJ, it's so hard to just pick one. Like, I could stay here and tell you all the things you'd remember, all the bits and pieces, but one that kind of really sticks out in my mind is, you know, just coming down the steps of the Hogan. You go up one side and obviously come down on like the other, and just meeting my mum and dad coming down that, and most of my family were actually on that side, and that moment just sticks out in my mind as just a special time. Like, just meeting them after achieving what we achieved was just, you know, special. And then the whole way down along, it's just, as Mag says, just happening on so many people that you know, and that they're out supporting you. It's just incredible memories. And like people say, you know, at the time they were talking about the tree in row, and we didn't think much of it, but it's only now we're starting to really realise that how special a time it really was for us. Like, back then we were like, what, you know, it's what we do kind of, but now it's just, when you think back on the memories, it's just very hard to take the smile off your face.
There's one vivid, actually, before you wrap that one up, there's one vivid. I remember going back to the Slorgan Park Hotel. JJ actually brought us all into a room, and he told us to stand in a circle, and he just said, look around the room now, because there won't be the same people in the same dressing room, or you won't be in the same room as the same people ever again. And lo and behold, he was true to an extent. But that there, when there was a level of silence in the room, and the noises outside, like, that was a very special moment for all of us, I would imagine. Not knowing, as Kate said, would you give over? We'll be back training in a couple of weeks. It was never the case. Like, there's a few girls there that I miss dearly when they stopped playing the following year, and two of them happened to be in the full back line, so I really missed them. And, you know, like, times change and people move on, and sometimes you think it's going to last forever, but like, it really doesn't. You have to make the best of what you have every given day and every given year.
And did you get away on the team holiday that year as well? Yeah.
I don't think we should be talking about team holidays.
That one was definitely
And
the
they-
most eventful one, the last one, probably.
Where,
Became pro skiers.
and I know every team when they win a three in a row, they never talk about beforehand it was taught at the toe presses, but surely someone brought it up along the way, maybe on the team holiday or in the dressing room. Who was the first person to bring it up?
To bring what up, James? The team holiday.
No, the three in a row. So maybe it happened on the team holiday, or maybe it happened when you got back training. But did anyone bring up the three in a row?
I
I
remember.
don't remember much, no.
No, maybe it was the elephant in the room, but no one wanted to say much about it. And JJ never mentioned it much anyway. It was just a thing. Next game, go out and play, and there is an element
We
of
won in 1 year, yeah. Yeah, no, I you know.
Yeah, I'd say
Does
on that, James, like the thing about it is people outside, you kind of get caught in a bubble when you're involved with a team and you just focus on the next game. Like in 2012, Cork beat us in the league final. Again, we went up to Galway in the round robin and they beat us by 11 points. So, that year we played Offaly in the semi-final and it was kind of a non-event, to be honest with you. And you're going into an All-Ireland final and you're not 100% sure, how, you believe that you're ready to go on that. But probably the tests in the semi-final the two previous years, stood to us. But we weren't, certainly Cork were a new team in there. The girls had stopped Cork going for a three in a row in 2007. And that was kind of being thrown out by the media, and that Cork were back for revenge and they were going to stop us doing the three in a row. And we just wanted to beat Cork, to be honest with you. And for me, not playing Galway, I always felt that in that era in particular, and still now, you kind of nearly had to beat Cork in a final to really, be a team that could stand up. And okay, the girls had done it in 2007, but obviously some of the girls weren't involved. We weren't involved in it, and beating Cork was, Cork are the kingpins of Camogie in the last probably 20 years, and just beating them, it's a bit like beating Kilkenny probably in the hurling. It's that extra bit special. If you need the cherry on top of winning All Ireland, beating Cork was that bit more special.
Yeah, and you scored 313 that day. Kate, was that as complete a Wexford performance in the final you were ever involved in, or?
Yeah, definitely the Cork match. We were probably cruising in the first half. We were 6 points up and took the foot off the pedal and letting back in. I think we went in a half-time level. Probably the one day that JJ really got mad with us at halftime. And it really was a complete performance, because when we went out in the second half, it was end-to-end stuff. That middle spell when the 3 goals happened, it really was, just, it was non-stop really that day. And yeah, when you look back now, it probably was a complete performance, because Cork kind of went at the game. It wasn't a defensive tactic. It wasn't until a couple of years after they started employing being really defensive. But both teams went out and it was score for score. It wasn't sweeper or trying to stop a team. It was more go at the game. And I think that's what made that game so enjoyable as well. And it really was when you look back on it, it was a great final. It was well, in my mind, it was probably one of the best Camogie finals in the last 10 years. Maybe last year's one was up there with it as well, but that was a great final, 313 in the final to 311. It was end to end really.
And what did you say at halftime, JJ?
I couldn't repeat it. It's not 9 o'clock now, but no, listen, as Kate said, we were flying in the first half. We were 6 points up, and it was nearly like we decided we'd won the game, and we went in and we were either going to go out and perform and show what we were capable of, or we were going to let Cork take our dream away, and that was basically it. And the start of the second half, I mean, I don't know if what managers say at halftime really had that big an impact or as much an impact. They came out and Claire Shine hit the post in the first couple of minutes, and okay, they got a 45 out of it, but what happened in the middle of that game. I mean, Ursula, everyone thinks of Ursula's second goal, the one where she pulled on the ground and Cyril Farr nearly lost his mind. But for me, the first one, you know, the ball went into the goal. And if you're ever looking for a coaching point for any kids, the ball went into the goalie's hands or went in on top of the goalie. Most forwards stop when that happened, but she didn't. And she followed in. The goalie just jumped up off her hurl a little bit, about probably 3 inches too high. And Ursula was there just to flick it into the net. And obviously they went up and got another goal. And then we came back down. And sure, I mean, the goal that Ursula got, if people say about ground hurling and forwards pulling on a ball, it's, you know, it was just an unbelievable strike. And after that, I mean, Fiona Rochford probably hit a cleaner strike on the ground. And Aoife Murray just made a brilliant save. And like, we won that game by 7 points. And I'd say had it gone on any longer, we just would have. It was the only day that we pulled away in the final. As I said, the previous two, we kind of fell over the line. But that one, we were just. It definitely was, for me, it was definitely the most complete team performance we had in those 3 years in any game.
Yeah, it was a brilliant game, and I suppose I don't think there's been a score line like it apart from maybe last year's final just gone by. I suppose, Max, in a game like that.
Sorry, James, just on that, Mags is staying very quiet because she probably doesn't think it was that brilliant of a game, because I'd say it's the only time in the 3 years the 3 goals went in past her.
And I still have such a big ego. I won't watch the match back. I've watched 10, 11, but no way am I going near 12.
In a game like 12, in a game like 12 where it is score for score, how, and your backline's under pressure because the ball's nearly going over the bar every time the opposition attacks, what kind of things would you be shouting to your full back line in a game like that, or when they're really under pressure, or can the goalie have an influence?
Yeah, I believe they can. Any goalkeeper can. And it isn't like the energy zapper, energy giver is just like, that is the tagline, I think, because if you're there giving out to your players, it goes in one ear, out the other. Like, so you got to just reinstill and tell them how fast they are, you know, how strong they are. They can't see, essentially, they can only see the ball coming in. They have a little bit of awareness where their opposite player is or who they're marking is around them. But essentially, I can guide them through the process in a very positive manner. And if I don't touch the ball in the game, I think I'm doing a good job for my backs, because I'm ensuring that they know where their player is, if they're out in front, when to step inside to cut off the extra run, etc., etc. I do remember Karen Atkinson, it was a quarterfinal in Nolan Park one year, and she was maybe about 6 foot off Jenny O'Leary going out for a ball, and she didn't quite know where Jenny O'Leary was, maybe on the same line as her, running for a ball in the corner. And I knew Jenny O'Leary get that ball, she'd go and turn and come down the channel and it'd be lights out. So I was roaring at Karen, telling her, you're out in front of her, you're going to have her for speed, you're when you get there, not a bother, Lockie's behind you. Lockie was nowhere behind her. You know, you just have to ensure that your players are confident going into the ball and are as confident as possible, trying to work the ball out. And you know, there's times as well when it can get a bit panicky in there, and that really shows the true colours of the quality of the players around you. And I remember Claire O'Connor telling me to calm down on a few occasions in there as well. And you know, that's some solid advice when I turned to her with about 3 minutes to go in All Ireland, and I remember saying, "Geez, Claire, I think we have this one." And she turned around, "Would you stop? There's so many minutes left. Calm down. We'll get there." So you need a few as well to keep you in line.
In Croke Park, how important is on-field communication from the players? Because it's so loud in there. Can people actually hear the messages from the management?
Not really.
No, that's why I love playing in Croker.
No, you can hear a whole lot, James, on the field in Croker, and that's kind of the thing you're not prepared for. You play in All Ireland semi-final, I suppose, in Nolan Park, and the noise isn't as much, and then you get to Croke Park and you really can't hear the person beside you, like if you're shouting at them. So the runners coming out with the messages are so important on the All Ireland final day, because while and that's one thing I think stood to us, like, you get to know the lads around you. You don't need to be shouting so much at them, but in Croke Park, you definitely didn't hear the players around you.
Yeah, it's interesting, and obviously, I suppose, how important at that level in All Ireland finals is just having a team who know each other inside out, and they love playing with each other. Is that what gets you over the line? You know, there was a couple of finals there against Galway where you kind of did just get over the line. Is that what gets you over the line when you get to Croke Park?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, you can look at it whatever way. Like, we'd been together as a group. We built a great bond. Like, I played in a minor All Ireland with the likes of Claire, Michelle O'Leary, Michelle Hearn, all those girls. Anya Codd, we came all the way through. And then the likes of the next layer came on, Mary Lacey, Una. So we all played 10, 15 years together. So you kind of build a bond all together, understanding, like, even Mag's movements in the goal. Like, you'd understand nearly, she'd be throwing a dummy, but you'd know nearly what way the dummy was going. You get to know each other that well, it is what it's all about too. Like, and if you're close enough to hear, I remember in the All Ireland, when we scored the first goal and the ball came down, and there was great rivalry that day. Anna Geary was actually marking Mary Lacey centre forward, and I was going up for the ball, and I heard Mary say, "Leave it." But I don't know whether Mary must have hit the ball as well and got the shot in on Anna at that stage, and I had a little giggle to myself. But the ball landed behind into one of the Mackies. I don't know which was Katrina or Pamela Mackey in the forwards, and it ended up back of the net. So it stopped my giggle very quickly. That's about as close to hearing what went on in Croke Park on one of those days. But those things are great memories, you know.
And on the puck outs, Mags, did you do much work on puck out tactics and what way you were hitting the puck outs on each given match, or how did that work?
Yeah, like as Kate said, I suppose you get to know each other's movement as well and who's available. But like, the game has significantly changed over the last 10 years. You're now, ensuring that you retain the ball as much as possible. So there's a lot of short puck outs and lads going back into midfield and coming into space to receive the ball, etc. But back then, and I watched back over 2010 yesterday, and it was very much territory. You just puck for territory and ensure that whoever's on form gets the ball. But then as we developed as a team, you could see, right, I know what Ursula's doing, maybe, or Una certainly is doing. She's holding her player in a centre forward position to leave space outside of her to run into, to try get the ball into that passage. But we would have talked through puck out scenarios. We would have, but it's just a different game now that we're playing at the moment to what we played back then, most certainly.
And how crucial was it that you had so many players who played the same position for the three? There was lots of consistency in the team for those 3 All-Irelands. How crucial was it that you knew each other so well? Like, how important is it that you all stuck together for so long?
It becomes enjoyable, I think. Like, people don't want to leave because they love playing around the girls that they're around, and they know each other's strengths on the team. So it becomes a more enjoyable game. I think, when you know how to read the player beside you, you know what type of ball might be coming from them, and you know what position to get yourself in. And that to me is probably as important as doing the fitness work and doing the drills, is getting to know the people around you as well, and what type of ball and what's their strength. Maybe JJ might have a different perspective, being a manager looking on or a coach looking on.
Yeah, I suppose, James, you're right. There was 12 of the girls started each of the 3 finals. There was consistency there, but there certainly, I don't think among the girls there was ever complacency. The cream, I suppose, always comes to the top, if you want to say it that way. But lots of girls would have gotten chances during the course of the year, and like, talking to some of the girls, and maybe Mags and Kate can kind of talk more on it, but I don't think any of them felt safe in their positions. Even by 2012, I don't think any of them felt, and that felt, they pushed each other on and they trusted that. And I think trust was a major thing, and it goes back to what Kate was talking about earlier. They all did the training. They knew that when they sat down in the dressing room, they looked around. Everyone was, everyone had done everything in their power to be ready. And like Kate mentioned Mickey Hart coming down. I remember one saying that he had, and he talked about belief. And he said, you can talk to people all you want about having belief, but belief has to have a substance. And in any team, the substance is how they have prepared. Now, if I walk to a dressing room and no one has trained and I say, listen, I believe in you, players just won't believe in themselves. Whereas if these girls, they had put in the work. We trained 3 times a week, they'd done their gym program, nutrition, all of that. And by the time we got to All Ireland, they knew the best team was starting. And they had trust in us, I suppose, that we picked the best players, or the players who were playing best at that particular time, and that everyone were ready for it. And that's just, I suppose, added into their belief. And that was the substance behind that belief. And just an interesting one on 2011, where we went 3 points down against Galway and they hit the post to go 4 points ahead. And I remember talking to 1 or 2 of the girls in the aftermath of the All Ireland, you know, what were they thinking when we were 3 points down? And I remember a couple of them said to me, basically what they were thinking was, it's about time we started hurling now and won this game. They weren't thinking about losing. They weren't thinking about anything like that. They were thinking about what we need to do to win the game. And I think that kind of summarizes the belief that they had in themselves and in each other. And that's probably what got us over the line.
And that's, JJ, you just got in what I was going to say. I think 2011 probably epitomised that in the team. We didn't talk about believing in each other. There was just that understanding from doing. There was just that understanding from training and working hard together. And the commitment to the team, the commitment to training. There were very little people slacking or dossing training and that. And I think that builds the spirit in your team. And there really was a strong spirit, and on talked about one. And that Galway, the 2011, at no point did I ever think we weren't going to win that match. And you know, when you look back on it, it was only 6 minutes to go when we turned it around and got level. But at no point, even during that game, did I think they were going to pip us, like, to be honest. And I think that went across the team. I think there was a belief in each other. There was it was going to happen. So.
Kate, just we've our last few questions coming up, but I suppose when JJ wasn't doing fitness tests with you the week of All Ireland's, like, what were the in-house challenge matches like in training when you had so many girls competing for All Ireland's?
Yeah, like, they were brilliant, because JJ had, like, especially 2011, like, we had the top players in the country, really. Like, you were marking our backs. And our backs we were All Ireland champions, so you were marking the best backs in the country. And I think what made them so good was we always had the numbers for great games. Like, the intermediate team were pushing to be on the senior team. The girls on the line were pushing to be on. And to be fair to JJ and them, they made the tough calls. And if there was someone playing well, and if there was someone that wasn't able to train because they were injured, he wasn't holding on to a position for him. He was picking the next best person in training. So the training actually made our team. And I think JJ and them said it all the time. You're playing on the best team players in the country. Like, these are as good as matches as you get. And it was up to the players, and no one pulled back. Like, those matches were physically tough and demanding. Like, they were as tough as a game. Like, the only thing about it, you were starting to get to know everyone really well. But it was always mixed up, and girls were out there to prove it. And when it was getting close to our Ireland final, like, everyone wanted to be on, so the ante was picking up. Like, so they were brilliant. You couldn't have asked for better games than what we were getting those years.
And did you have a toughest opponent in those training sessions, if you were to call one?
There was quite a lot. Yeah, I was in the full forward line. Claire and Catherine were very hard to get around, and likewise Karen. And same, like they didn't let you on the same player every night. So you could have been on Nolene, Mary, Aoife, like they were. And then you often were on the intermediate, like Anya and whatever. So, like, there's genuinely no better players than them in the country, in my eyes, in those years, because, like, and they were tough games, as tough. So we got plenty of match practice. If anyone had missed a few games because they were injured, they were getting the match practice in training.
And I suppose, JJ, would you agree with that? Was it hard to pick teams based on training, or how tough was it looking at those games and picking teams?
Listen, James, I went along the lines that I still would, if someone is performing, they get their place, and at times it comes down to, one person might be performing, but somebody else could be performing better. And I suppose the All Ireland of 2012 is a prime example where two girls who started, were left off at the final, and two others who were just absolutely flying and training came in, and Fiona Rochford was one of those, and she came in the full forward line and just had an unbelievable game. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, the girls knew that what can happen, I suppose, with certain teams is if players become complacent, then maybe they're not pushing themselves and they're sitting on the sideline, or they're on the physio table when training is happening, because they know, listen, I don't need to push myself. But with our girls, it was basically, if you didn't train, you didn't play. And now, listen, if someone was injured or whatever, and it was a genuine injury, that was a different story. But it was really, listen, if you were playing and if you wanted your position, put your hand up and trust us to pick the best team. And we certainly picked what we felt was the best team. I'm sure there's people who probably disagree with that, but you're always going to get that. But I suppose winning the All Ireland's probably vindicated what we had done and the teams we had picked.
Brilliant. And I suppose, Mags, during those All Ireland series, and including 2007, you played Cork twice and you played Galway twice. Did you have a biggest rival at the time, or did you take every game as it came?
Like that, those 24 months with Galway were surreal, really. But Cork, and JJ mentioned earlier, like, to beat Cork in 2017, we were going up as complete underdogs, and we were giddy about going to Croke Park, and we were giddy about the opportunity. And that's coming from I was in, I suppose, the younger bracket of the team. And then you just had this awe of responsibility to Jesus and not letting Avis Nolan down, and like, that's how it felt at the time. And whoever the opposition was, be it Cork or Galway. But there definitely was that period in 10 and 11 where it was tit for tat with Galway. They'd beat us in the round robin competition, like in the championship, and we'd always, get the one over them then thereafter. But really, I think beating Cork in 2012 probably was the icing on the cake, knowing that, we played the top teams out there at every turn, and it wasn't just, Galway and a lucky win over Cork. We really did beat them that day, so that there was great satisfaction in that, even though 3 goals went in. Like, we pushed that to one side.
Brilliant. So look, to finish up, the last question I want to ask you, because look, as I said, an incredible era for sport in general in Wexford, I think, if anyone's seen the crowds, they would remember how brilliant it was, an era it was. I just want to ask you to pick out maybe one memory or one game that really stands up there for yourselves, and we'll start with you, JJ.
Oh God. Yeah, listen, there's just so many. There's just so many memories, and like the girls mentioned there, about seeing family when you're on that bus. Like, for me, going through Scarra Welsh, and it's just up the road to home, and family standing there in Enniscorthy, and that kind of crack. And I suppose one thing, I don't know if it's a favourite memory, but it's certainly an honour to be able to do it, and it's something that every All Ireland team does on the morning after the All Ireland, and to go to Crumlin Children's Hospital. And I remember the first year we went in, and there was a couple of kids there from Wexford with their parents, and they had the Wexford colours on them in the hospital, and just to see the sheer delight on their faces, and just, I suppose, being in a position and having the honour to be able to do something like that, and to bring 5 minutes of joy to a family that, I suppose, were just in the depths of despair. I mean, any family, I suppose, that have a child in hospital will know the feeling, and just for us to be able to do that, and it's something you never think about when you're getting ready for an All Ireland. And it certainly wasn't anything I thought about in the build up to an All Ireland, and you don't really hear about it until the night of the All Ireland, and someone says to you, listen, the guards will be here in the morning, will you go to the Crumlin? And the girls were brilliant for doing that. And it's just things like that no other game and no other sport, and it's something that's very, very hard to replicate it. And things like that is just just stick in my mind, and will forever stick in my mind.
Brilliant. And what about yourself, Kate?
Yeah, it's so hard to pick kind of one occasion or one thing, but I'd be on the lines of JJ. I just think the impact the day after the All-Ireland, like to win the All-Ireland in Croke Park is a dream come true, and it's everything and more of what you dream it would be. But just the next day, like taking that in, you know, the crumbling starting from early in the morning till that night, you're wrecked. But my God, the adrenaline and just the whole occasion of the next day, it just, I remember the very first year my mother saying to me in Stillorgan, you know, this is going to be massive in Wexford, and I was like, yeah. And just every year that was just bigger and better, and it's just something that will stick in my memory forever, that the day after the All-Ireland, and just the relief and the adrenaline and the going back to Wexford with the cup is just, it was just brilliant, like amazing, and everything and more of anything that I could have imagined it would be, to be honest.
Brilliant. And yourself, Mags?
Very briefly, it's winning on the day is fantastic. Like, obviously it is. The next day is incredible as well, and it's just, there's just so much noise going on. I think kind of the week after, you get to kind of sit at home and just go, Jesus, did that really happen? You know, and to not have the feeling that every time we went to Croke Park, we won something. And, you know, to not experience that waking up the next morning and going, God, we didn't do it, is there's nearly a sense of fulfillment in knowing that we did the job on the day upon reflection when you look back. But for me, it was bringing the cup back to the club and back to my next door neighbour who was 98 and him asking me to get into the bed with him because he couldn't get out of bed with the cup, like, and just, you know, it was just those kind of memories that you look back on, and being able to know that you brought so much happiness to your family and your neighbours and the people in your own parish, because at the end of the day, that's where we all come from. Like, that's where the hurling within us came from. As much as it's a county effort, I think we all know individually as players that the club is where it's at.
Brilliant. Look, it's been an absolutely wonderful conversation. It's great to talk to multiple All-Ireland winners, and JJ's here, of course, as well. But it's been a brilliant conversation, and it's something that Wexford will be proud of for a long time. And in any code, I'm not sure we'll emulate it anytime soon. But so thanks very much for tuning in. From us in the coaching office, guys, we will be back again on Tuesday night for the 1996 All-Ireland hurling final. Apologies for the one technical glitch tonight, but we should have that sorted by Tuesday. Thanks a million for tuning in, and thanks very much to Mags, Kate, and JJ. Thanks a million, folks, and goodbye.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, guys.